Welcome to Mamahood After Trauma. I'm Emily, your host. Here we share strategies and inspiration to help you heal and grow with kindness and understanding. Let's dive in. This is Mamahood After Trauma. Before we dive in, I want to introduce you to something brand new. If you love the podcast and want a deeper connection to your healing, check out the monthly Peace Pack, a small trauma informed tool delivered each month straight to your mailbox to help you find calm in the everyday. You'll also get access to our private Patreon community where mamas like you can share, support, and learn together. Sign up with the link in the show notes. Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Mamahood After Trauma podcast. I am thrilled that you have taken some time out of your busy mama schedule to tune in and listen. Today, we have the privilege of being joined by Heidi. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Emily.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to our conversation today. So let's dive right in. Could you share a little bit of your story with our listeners and how you came to be working in this trauma recovery space?
Yeah, absolutely. My journey started almost 12 years ago in this space. I had gone through years of infertility to get pregnant. And through that journey, it really created in me this desire to want to share our story. It was years of infertility. It was a very traumatic birthing story with our son. And then my husband and I always say it was the road less traveled to expand our family and get to where we wanted to be. And by sharing our story, the hope is that our kids know their miracle lives and understand the journey that it took to get here. And secondly, to share with others that they are not alone in their journey. And so oftentimes it's an isolating and lonely journey. And so just wanted to share our story in hopes that it brings inspiration and hope to others that might be going through it.
Yeah, it's so great that you want to share your messy middle, really, with others to help them to feel less alone. That's why I do what I do, because when you're going through those really hard things in life, like infertility or trauma recovery or trying to break cycles, you do feel alone. Could you share a little bit more of your story and how you overcame infertility? And yeah, we'll go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we went through over 2 years of trying to conceive, and it was everything from all the doctors, all the waiting periods. I remember going into a drugstore and getting yet another pregnancy test, only to get home and to use the pregnancy test to find that it was yet another missed opportunity, missed window. It was a lot of calendaring with my husband, a lot of robotics, right? It is just so hard in so many ways. And at the time, I don't know that I realized how many life lessons would be learned through that hard period. And not only the infertility, but the birth. And I also learned that through that journey, there were so many times that I had expectations in my head how I thought my life should be until I realized that God had other plans. And that is very hard, whether it was how easy or hard it was going to be to conceive, right? From a huge family. My mom had 12 brothers and sisters. So you can imagine, right? It was always kind of a
Yeah.
running joke, like it's a fertile family, and you look at each other and you get pregnant, and that's not always the case. And that concept of infertility, and we didn't really talk about it because our world just doesn't really talk about it and how it can be so hard. And you're working at the same time that you're trying to hide this secret, this deep rooted secret of trying so hard for something and not being able to tell people. And that's why it feels so lonely, because it's almost like living two different lives. And I've had a lot of people share that with me. Wow, I didn't know. And it's what you go through, because in my mind, again, these expectations in my head was that this beautiful celebration of Heidi and Spencer are having children, and like this beautiful excitement of a new announcement of what was going to be. And that's not really how it played out.
Yeah. How did you navigate the expectations versus what was really happening? Because you're not alone in feeling that.
Mm-hmm.
So many of us have these expectations of life is what our lives is supposed to be, or how it's supposed to look, or how our parents are supposed to treat us, or whatever it might be, versus what we're really experiencing. And it creates this misalignment, and that causes a lot of friction.
Mm.
What did you do to navigate that and to help yourself through that?
Yeah. There were several things. I think the biggest thing that I learned through this journey, and that in hindsight, is I relied a lot on my faith, and my faith that God would lead me down the right path. And there were plenty of times when I, like, my faith was paper thin, when I was holding on by a thread, asking all the questions, wondering why me, not understanding. I distinctly remember a conversation with my mother-in-law after I almost lost my life. My son's life was in jeopardy. And I was like, why? Why me? After all the infertility, and then why? And she said a very profound statement about, sometimes God doesn't put us in those positions, but he helps us through it, and he walks alongside of us to get us through that. And I think that reliance and the surrendering of the not knowing is very hard for us, because in the world we live in today, there's an element of comparison in everything we do, which amplifies our expectations in our heads to say, we should be here, we could be here, we should be doing this. And the reality is, that's not may not be your plan, right? And so the realization that perhaps our plan is different than what is in our head. And I did a ton of journaling. My kids always say, "What are you doing up at 5 a.m.?" And I'm like, that's my time with God, and my time to journal and to be quiet and still, to listen, to hear, to surrender. Like, that is my time. That is the only way my book would have come to be, is allowing things to come in at 5 a.m. when, no one's around. So I think, to answer your question, my faith has been a huge element of that. And journaling, my husband and I, as you can imagine, going through infertility and then the trauma, the communication, like, people cope with things differently. And so our communication, it ebbed and flowed. I'm never going to pretend like everything was perfect, because it was the hardest time in our lives. But for us to be able to communicate and to try to understand each other in ways that I never thought at the ripe age, mid-20s, to be going through such a hard time, that really made a huge difference as well.
Yeah, I can imagine. So tell us about your book.
Yeah. So I launched it in April, and I really, again, just wanted people that were maybe going through a hard time. It's about infertility and our story, but the reality is it's about resilience, it's about inspiring, it's about bringing about hope through hard times. It's rising through the storm, which, has resonance in and of itself. And I wanted people to be able to see our journey in a vulnerable, authentic way that they could relate to it or perhaps reflect on it. So at the end of each chapter, I have reflection questions because I know not everything's going to parallel people's lives, but I really wanted to give them a moment to stop and think about their life and how it might relate to their life and some of the times in their journey. It goes through the sequence of how we were raised and how our upbringing and how you then become a parent and your vision of a parent and your expectations of being a parent. And then it really takes through the timetable of how we came to be a family. And again, imperfectly perfect for us, right? It's
Yeah.
not all meant to be scripted as we want. The other thing I feel like I learned through this journey is the messy middle, as you defined it, has truly transformed how I look at life. If I hadn't had my messy middle, my life would look very different today. How I prioritize my life, how I spend my time and energy, what I view as my values and my priorities, what I spend my time on, how I've chosen my career path in consulting versus other things. Like it truly has made a difference in how I look at life and my perspectives. And I just hope that others can maybe get inspiration from that, whether it's telling your story or whether it's making a shift when it needs to happen when it doesn't feel aligned. I just hope that it can provide that inspiration to others along the way as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. What are, let me think here, two action steps that you would suggest to a mama listening who is navigating their messy middle?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think I'd go back to my first one of journaling. Find a safe space to get your thoughts down and really spend time with your thoughts, the messages and the thoughts that you have through the day. I like to start my day that way because oftentimes I wake up and I'm clear minded and I don't have the noise of the day in my head. And so for me, that works. And I found that building in those incremental things helps to set my day in the right way because you can quickly spiral. If you start on social media, you can quickly spiral into those deep, dark thoughts and other thoughts of like, why not me? Why? I think the other thing that I would really encourage people to lean into is their faith because it helped me reframe my thoughts and my mind from the why me to the what now. The victim to the gratitude of being just grateful for all that I have. And I think my faith has really grounded me and helped allowed me to open that up. Now, faith looks different to all people. That is okay. That is okay. Right. And whatever faith looks like to you and how you approach it, I am going to add a quick third thing. Our world is so consumed by comparison. I encourage people, clients, otherwise, get off social media for a period of time. And I think you'll quickly realize the impact that it's having on your mental health. And oftentimes that is a key driver to getting through hard times is just taking a break. When I was writing my book, I took an intentional break off social media because I knew it did not align with my priorities, and it was it was creating noise in my mind, and I didn't want that. And so I feel like if you're going through a hard time, spend time in nature, journal, be with yourself, allow yourself to give yourself grace, allow yourself to get through it.
Yeah.
Rely on your faith to do that, and maybe disconnect for a bit from things that might be creating the bad noise that are distracting you from getting through the hard time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's some really good advice because without even realizing it, we give our power away to
Yes.
what we see on social media and we allow it to take up space and not pay rent. So,
Good way to put it.
yeah. Yeah. We give our power away to it and it's not good. So, how can our listeners connect with you further if they'd like to do so?
Yeah. I have a website, HeidiGotch.com. I am also on all the social outlets, and email is fine, phone call is fine. It's all on my website. I just, my whole goal is to get the book in people's hands that could benefit from it, whether it's infertility or not. It really does and is meant to inspire others and really give them hope on their journey, hard times, or perhaps they know somebody going through it. And I've heard from a lot of people that even just getting an understanding of a different perspective and what others have gone through really helps them, give them empathy and compassion, whether it's healthcare providers and others. I've been speaking and engaging with other groups that really want to focus on that. And we need more empathy in this world. And this is just one way that we can spread that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today, Heidi. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Oh, thank you, Emily. I appreciate you having me.
Thanks for listening to Mamahood After Trauma. If today's episode resonated with you, make sure to grab your Unlocking Peace guide from the link in the show notes to start your healing journey with practical tools. Remember, Mama, you're not alone in this. Together, we're mending the past so mamas can mama in peace. See you next time.